Hello. In this video, we're going to be working with nodes. We're going to understand what they are, what they do, and how to use them. On the screen right now, I have a rectangle that I created using the rectangle tool. You can press F6 to use this tool, or you can simply come to this sidebar and select the rectangle tool to create a rectangle. In the very corners, you can see little squares. Those little squares, not the big black ones, the little squares are nodes. If you mouse over it, it will literally tell you that it's a node. A node is a point of intersection or connection within an object. It joins two parts together, and it follows certain rules based on what type of object it is on and what type of line it is connected to. Nodes allow you to manipulate and change the design. In order to work with a node, you need to be using the Shape tool. You can press F10 or again simply come to the sidebar, select it. This is a rectangle that I created using the rectangle tool, so this is not actually a curve, so the nodes will behave differently than they would on a curve. For example, if I grab this node and I try to pull it, it's not going to just move wherever I pull it to. It's reshaping the rectangle, but yet keeping the rectangle shape. It follows the rules that are set by this command bar right here. You can change to a scalloped corner or a chamfered corner, or back to the original round corner. This is for when you want to keep the rectangle and you don't want to skew it in any way, but you want to change the corners. You can even change them individually using this here. But let's say you want to manipulate those nodes and change it from a rectangle. Well, in order to do that, you need to change the rectangle to a curve. Press Ctrl Q. That rectangle is now a curve. If you notice, that's what it's labeled as here. I'm going to undo so that you can see what it was labeled before. It was a rectangle. And then Ctrl Q turns it into a curve. Now, when I choose the node, it behaves differently. If I try to bring it down this way, it goes down this way. It doesn't just reshape the rectangle. So there's two types of lines. There's just a straight line and it's merely called a line, and there's a curved line and it's merely called a curve. On the straight line, the node behaves differently than it does on a curved line. Now let's talk about the cursor and its symbols. Currently, it has a little rectangle symbol. That's for a selection process. Like you drag and click and it's asking you, what would you like to select? You can select several nodes anywhere on the object by dragging it and letting go. Just drag and let go. And you have all three of those nodes. Drag it around those. It creates a box and you've got all those selected. If you see a squiggly line, it means that you are about to select a line. If I select this line, it'll put a dot there. If you see a plus button, that means your mouse is over the node itself. That means you can select that node and do things to that node. If you want to add a node, you're going to come to the line, make sure it's saying that it has the line by showing the squiggly line. Double click, and you've added a node. There's another option. You remember I talked about it adding the dot? If you click and see that dot, you can now right click on that dot and press add. Those are two ways to add a node. Now let's look at the different types of nodes. Keep in mind that when you add a node, it will try to keep the format of the node next to it. Let's add a node here on the curved surface. This node is set to a smooth, this middle one. When you manipulate a smooth node, it allows you to change the direction and skew it however you'd like. without skewing this part of the line. This allows for a smooth curve, a smooth transition. If I were to, say, add a node and turn it to a cusp, then when I move these arrows, it is skewing this part. It allows you to have pointy corners and points in between your round sections. It allows you to manipulate it a little bit more. I'm going to add another one here. If I were to change it to symmetrical node, then when I move this arrow, it's going to also move on the other side. It not only keeps it smooth like the smooth node, it keeps it equal as far as distance from the node. On straight lines, you generally have cusp or smooth. It will not allow you to do symmetrical node on a straight line. If you want to turn a straight line into a curved line, you simply select Convert to Curve. If you want to turn a curved line into a straight line, you simply select Convert to Line. Now let's go over one last thing. You see how my object is filled with a color? If there is a broken node somewhere in the object, it will not fill with color. This is a common problem that people run into when tracing or copying things. But if you see that your object will not take a fill no matter what color you press, then you know that there's a broken node, and this is called an open curve. There's several ways to close an open curve. Honestly, the best way is to come and find the two nodes that are on top of each other. Sometimes in a very complex object, there's going to be several of those. But right now we only have the one, and so we find the two nodes on top of each other. And now there's two ways to fix when you're going this route. One, you can right click after you've selected both of them. You can right click and join, or you can select one of them, bring it back until you see that arrow pop up beneath your cursor. That will also join them. The other thing is to just right-click the object and press Close Curve. That works very easily if it's not a complex object. If it is a complex object, however, there may be several of them that are open, and it may confuse the program as to which ones go together. So if you have a simple object, you can just right-click and press Close Curve. But if you have a complex object, you're going to want to look for those duplicate nodes that are on top of each other and close them individually. And that concludes our lesson on understanding nodes.